Imagine walking into a room and feeling completely invisible, like no one notices you. And yet, somehow, there's always that one person who seems to be inexplicably drawn to you. They don't just like your company. They chase it. They chase you. And the strange thing is, it's never because you begged, pleaded, or tried desperately to get their attention. It happens because, consciously or unconsciously, you've sent a signal that you don't need anyone. That's the paradox. When you act like you don't need anyone, people suddenly start noticing you more than ever. You might think independence would push people away, but in reality, it works like a magnet. And it's not magic, it's psychology. There's something deeply human about wanting what seems out of reach. It's not even about attraction in the shallow sense. It's about value, about perception, about the subtle signals we all send without realizing it. When someone is constantly available, always chasing approval, their attention loses scarcity. Scarcity makes things valuable, and value makes things desirable. When you operate from a place of self-sufficiency, not neediness, not desperation, people sense that you have a life, a purpose, a world that doesn't revolve around them. And that's irresistibly attractive. Now, let's be real. Independence doesn't mean you're cold or unfeeling. It doesn't mean you shut people out or pretend you're invincible. It's something deeper, something subtle. It's the quiet confidence in your voice, the calm in your demeanor, the way you can enjoy your own company without feeling lonely. It's the energy that says, I'm whole on my own, and anyone who wants to be in my life is a bonus, not a necessity. That energy is magnetic because it's rare. Most people walk around seeking validation, trying to fill gaps they haven't addressed within themselves, and that desperation is almost always visible. When you break that pattern, you stand out without even trying. And yet, independence has a funny way of making people feel uncomfortable at first. When you stop chasing, when you stop texting first, when you stop bending over backward to please, some people get frustrated. They wonder, why isn't this person as invested as I am? That discomfort is exactly what triggers the chase. Humans are wired to desire what challenges them. We want to solve the puzzle, to earn the attention that isn't freely given. That's why when you begin to detach from constant validation, you might notice the shift. People who barely noticed you before suddenly go out of their way to reach you. And it's not manipulation. It's just the natural law of human behavior in action. At the same time, this doesn't mean independence is easy. Being self-sufficient in a world that glorifies constant connection is challenging. It requires patience, self-awareness, and sometimes even a little loneliness while you recalibrate. You might feel guilty for not texting back immediately or anxious when someone doesn't call as often as you expect. Those feelings are normal, but they're also temporary. The more you embrace your independence, the stronger your presence becomes, and the more effortlessly people are drawn to you. Here's the most important part. This magnetism doesn't make you superior or unattainable in a manipulative way. It simply means you respect yourself enough not to settle for attention that isn't genuine. When people chase you, it's because they want what you offer, not because you're playing games. It's about your aura, your confidence, and your authenticity. That's why you might feel a subtle thrill the first time someone who never noticed you suddenly makes an effort. It validates not your worth, but your energy, your self-respect, your decision to be whole on your own terms. So, if you've ever felt invisible or overlooked, understand this. Your independence is not a barrier. It's the foundation of your appeal. You don't need to beg, persuade, or compromise yourself. Instead, lean into your life, your passions, your growth, and watch how the world responds. The irony is beautiful. The less you chase, the more they chase. It's a lesson in patience, self-awareness, and the subtle power of being complete without anyone else's approval. In a world obsessed with neediness and constant reassurance, being independent isn't just rare, it's magnetic. And that magnetism is yours for the taking. Have you ever noticed how people suddenly become more interested in you the moment you stop giving them all your attention? It's like the universe flips a switch, and they start noticing the little things they never did before. The truth is, there's a reason behind this, and it's rooted deep in human psychology. Humans are naturally drawn to scarcity, to what seems just out of reach. It's not about playing games or being manipulative. It's about understanding a subtle law of desire that almost everyone ignores. When you stop chasing, When you create space between yourself and others, you tap into this force, and the effect can be almost instantaneous. Think about it. There's always someone who seemed indifferent, someone who barely responded, someone whose attention you wished you could capture. Then, at some point, they start reaching out, asking questions, showing interest in ways they never did before. You might wonder why. You didn't change overnight. What changed was your energy. Your independence made you unpredictable, intriguing, and slightly elusive. That's when the chase begins, not because of who they are, but because of how you show up in the world, self-sufficient, confident, and unwilling to compromise your peace for their approval. It helps to understand the psychology behind this. When someone constantly seeks approval, constantly pursues, and is always available, it signals a form of neediness that can subconsciously lower their perceived value. On the other hand, when you act from a place of self-respect, when you are calm, collected, and fully engaged in your own life, it signals that your time and energy are valuable. People are wired to pursue what they perceive as valuable. Scarcity creates desire. Independence communicates that your attention is not a given. That simple shift changes how people perceive you in ways words cannot. Stories of this effect are everywhere. Imagine a woman who never texts first, who focuses on her career, her hobbies, and her circle of friends. She isn't cold or unkind, but she doesn't bend over backward for anyone. Slowly, someone who previously ignored her starts noticing her presence. He remembers the small details she shared months ago. He laughs at her jokes a little harder. He seeks her out in conversations. That shift didn't happen because she changed who she was. It happened because she stopped seeking validation externally and started valuing herself internally. Her independence became a signal that she is worth pursuing. It's the same with men. A man who no longer constantly checks his phone, who no longer reacts instantly to every message, who invests his energy in his goals and passions, suddenly becomes magnetic. People notice his calm confidence, his focus, and the subtle aura of someone who doesn't need constant approval. They might feel frustrated at first, wondering why he's not as available as before. But that frustration is the spark of attraction. It triggers a natural psychological pattern. When access is limited, desire increases. It's not about manipulation, it's about the natural push and pull of human interest. Of course, this dynamic isn't always easy to navigate. You might feel guilty for not replying immediately or anxious when someone's attention seems to wane. That's the emotional tension that often accompanies independence. It's uncomfortable because most people are conditioned to seek reassurance, to chase validation. But it's precisely this discomfort that makes the chase work. When you resist the urge to constantly chase back, you force others to step up, to engage authentically, and to value your presence. That tension between availability and scarcity is what drives the emotional roller coaster of attraction. At the same time, it's important to balance this effect with authenticity. People can sense desperation, manipulation, or inconsistency. Acting independent for the sake of triggering a chase without actually cultivating self-worth or purpose rarely works long-term. True magnetic independence comes from genuinely living your life, pursuing your passions, and valuing your time and energy. The chase isn't about creating distance artificially. It's about allowing space for others to recognize your value naturally. The beauty of this dynamic is that it transforms relationships. Instead of one-sided efforts, interactions become mutual. People start showing up because they genuinely want to, not because you force their attention. You stop feeling exhausted from constantly giving, and instead, you experience a shift in energy, where connections feel more balanced, meaningful, and empowering. The chase effect, when understood and respected, becomes a tool not for control, but for fostering healthier, more fulfilling relationships. Understanding this principle also gives you clarity. You no longer interpret lack of attention as rejection or inadequacy. You recognize the underlying psychology at play, and you respond from a place of calm awareness rather than emotional reactivity. That knowledge alone is empowering, because it allows you to maintain your independence while navigating social dynamics with confidence. You realize that attraction is not about manipulation, it's about alignment, aligning your energy, your values, and your presence with people who genuinely resonate with you. So, the next time someone starts chasing after you, pause and reflect. Notice how your independence, your self-respect, and your energy are the silent forces that drew them in. Appreciate that you don't have to force attention or bend to someone else's expectations. Instead, embrace the subtle psychology at work and use it as an opportunity to cultivate deeper, more meaningful connections. Once you understand this, you'll never see attention, desire, or attraction in the same way again. Independence isn't just a state of being, it's a strategy of life, a principle of human behavior, and a secret power that transforms not just how others see you, but how you see yourself. Mastering the balance between independence and connection is where the real transformation happens. It's one thing to understand that acting self-sufficient attracts people, but it's another thing entirely to navigate that energy without slipping into arrogance, coldness, or playing mind games. True magnetic confidence isn't about pushing people away to make them chase you. It's about cultivating an authentic presence that naturally draws the right people toward you. The key is understanding that independence doesn't mean detachment. It means being fully yourself, grounded in your own worth, while remaining open to genuine connections. Many people make the mistake of thinking that if they want someone to notice them, they need to act mysterious or distant in a manipulative way. They create a persona, hide their emotions, or deliberately withhold attention in an attempt to trigger the chase. That approach rarely works for long. People can sense when energy is artificial. It's transparent, and while it might generate short-term interest, it doesn't lead to meaningful connections. The goal is not to manipulate. The goal is to embody the kind of confidence and self-sufficiency that naturally inspires respect and attraction. Practical strategies are essential here, and they start with understanding your own priorities. When you focus on your personal growth, your passions, your career, or even hobbies that light you up, you automatically become more magnetic. People are drawn to individuals who are engaged with their lives, who have a sense of purpose and direction. That doesn't mean you ignore others or reject connection. It means your life isn't dependent on anyone else's approval or presence. You radiate energy that says, I am whole. I am enough. I am living my life fully, and that energy is irresistible because it's rare. Another crucial strategy is subtle social behavior. This isn't about being cold or aloof. It's about setting healthy boundaries and communicating your value without arrogance. For example, responding thoughtfully rather than instantly to messages communicates that your attention is valuable. Engaging in conversations fully rather than passively allows people to feel your presence without dominating or chasing. Little actions, like maintaining good eye contact, a calm posture, and active listening, create a magnetic presence. You don't have to say much. The way you carry yourself, the way you respect your own time, speaks volumes. Equally important is emotional consistency. People are drawn to those who are grounded, even in situations that could trigger insecurity. If someone suddenly pulls away, you don't panic or chase. Instead, you maintain your composure, which communicates that your self-worth isn't contingent on external validation. This emotional stability is one of the most attractive qualities you can embody because it reassures others unconsciously. You are someone who won't crumble under pressure, someone worth investing time and energy in. Storytelling helps illustrate this perfectly. Imagine a man who used to overextend himself to gain attention. He would text constantly, cancel plans with friends to accommodate someone else, and worry when he didn't receive immediate responses. After realizing the value of his independence, he began redirecting his energy toward his career, fitness, and personal passions. He maintained polite, kind communication without over-investing. Gradually, the people who used to take him for granted started noticing him differently. They were drawn to his confidence, his calm energy, and his clear sense of self. He didn't change who he was, he just learned to show up authentically and value himself. There's also the mindset shift to consider. Independence and attraction work best when you internalize that your worth isn't dictated by who is chasing you. The chase effect is a natural consequence, not a goal in itself. Your focus should be on being fully present in your own life, on developing the skills, habits, and qualities that make you proud of yourself. When you approach relationships from this place of self-respect, everything changes. You stop tolerating behavior that doesn't serve you, and you attract people who align with your energy. Contrast is another powerful tool in this journey. Observe the difference between someone who is constantly seeking approval versus someone who is secure and grounded. The first will experience burnout, frustration, and inconsistent attention. The second operates from a place of calm magnetism, drawing others effortlessly. Understanding this contrast helps you reframe your own behavior. You start asking, am I chasing out of insecurity, or am I showing up from a place of wholeness? This small but significant mental shift changes the way you engage with the world and relationships. The balance also extends to intimacy and emotional availability. Independence doesn't mean shutting people out emotionally. It means being selective, open, and present with the people who deserve your energy. When you can show vulnerability without losing your sense of self, you deepen connections rather than creating superficial interactions. Authenticity, combined with independence, is a rare combination that fosters respect, trust, and lasting attraction. Finally, patience is key. The transformation doesn't happen overnight, and neither does the effect of the chase. By committing to your growth, maintaining your boundaries, and embodying consistent energy, you allow relationships to evolve naturally. You stop forcing outcomes, stop overanalyzing, and stop compromising your peace for attention. Instead, you operate from a place of alignment. Your life, your priorities, and your energy are in harmony, and the people who resonate with that will naturally gravitate toward you. The ultimate lesson is simple yet profound. Independence is not a tactic, it's a lifestyle. When you master the balance, you don't need to chase anyone, and yet the right people find themselves drawn to you effortlessly. You cultivate a magnetic presence through your actions, your emotional consistency, and your authenticity. You stop compromising your self-worth for external validation, and the relationships you form are healthier, more meaningful, and deeply empowering. The chase effect, when paired with mastery of balance, becomes a natural reflection of your internal strength rather than a game of manipulation. By embracing this mindset, you gain freedom. Freedom from anxiety, from overinvestment, and from the endless cycle of chasing approval. Freedom to enjoy your own company, to engage in life fully, and to connect authentically with others. Freedom to know that your value is inherent, and attraction is a consequence of the life you led, not the effort you expend to be noticed. That's the ultimate power of mastering the balance. It transforms not only how others see you, but how you see yourself, and it lays the foundation for truly magnetic, fulfilling connections that enrich every aspect of your life. The truth is, once you embrace your independence and understand the psychology behind attraction, your whole perspective on relationships changes. You begin to see that being chased is not about manipulation or playing games. It's a natural reflection of your self-respect, your confidence, and your authentic presence. You stop feeling anxious about whether someone notices you or whether you're enough because you already know your worth. That inner certainty becomes magnetic. People are drawn to it without you needing to try, without you needing to beg for attention. Living beyond approval transforms more than just your romantic life. It shifts how you interact with friends, colleagues, and even family. You stop overextending yourself to gain validation and start prioritizing what truly matters to you. Your energy becomes a filter, attracting people who respect your boundaries and genuinely value your presence. You no longer tolerate energy drains or relationships that leave you feeling depleted. Instead, you cultivate connections that are empowering, fulfilling, and mutually respectful. This is where true freedom lies. The freedom to be fully yourself without fear of judgment or rejection. The freedom to invest your time and energy in people and pursuits that matter. The freedom to know that attraction is not something you force, it's something that naturally follows when you honor yourself first. When you act like you don't need anyone, not out of arrogance, but from authenticity, the right people are drawn to you effortlessly. You become a living example of empowerment, confidence, and magnetic independence. And in doing so, you inspire others to rise to your level.